مثلما كان في المحاضرة الأولى سيكون هناك
the common challenges on energy and environment. About if a win-win solution is possible, because environment and energy, they are climbing on top of our list of topics, and already existing problematic fields are joined by these two new concerns, starting from Afghanistan down to our region. We started closely feeling the impact of the global climate change, as mentioned by Mr. Mesut before the afternoon. Another important element of this flux of migrants from Afghanistan to Turkey, of course, the economy is playing a role, politics is playing a role, but the environmental conditions are making a severe impact. We are also seeing similar climate change impacts in Iran, especially around Urumie Lake. There was a widespread discussion. Millions of people, it was told, will be negatively affected because of this change, and there were various comments and news which said that millions of people could be migrants because of that. Also, Iraqi ambassador raised some concerns about Syria in the morning. He raised some concerns about the use of the common resources. Unfortunately, it is having a multiplier effect on the already ongoing crisis. There are already dozens of terrorist organizations. There is already a gap of governance. There is already a failure of transparency. There is widespread corruption. There are the family dynasties problem. And despite the fact that we may think that we could solve these problems alone, sometimes we are so ambitious to solve them. When it comes to the environment, this idea is doomed to fail. We need a regional approach and regional collaborations. We have three valuable participants from three different countries. We had Mir Mahmud Musavi. We were supposed to have Mir Mahmud Musavi as a retired ambassador, but Madame Firdevs is going to take the floor instead of him. And then I'm going to introduce the other speakers. She was a Jordanian. She was an ambassador in Jordan. She has a wide experience. Sorry, Mr. Firdevs Supur. The translator wants to say sorry because Firdevs is a female name in Turkish. Let's start.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Çok teşekkür ediyorum.
Teşekkür بسیار زیاد.
Are not my specialty, so let me speak Persian.
I think that today's meeting, the second meeting, the afternoon meeting, is regarding the economy, especially the energy discussion and the discussion of environmental problems. I would like to start my discussion about these two issues considering the time that is allocated to me. First of all, I would like to talk about the economical, energetic things. The important point about the trilateral things in terms of economic and energy is to take our attention to geopolitical things. As we know that the capacity of geopolitical among Iran, especially Turkey, and somehow we can say about Iraq, it has its importance. And we can have a very broad geopolitical location, that we should use this capacity and have the maximum utilization of this. The regions such as Eurasia, Balkan, as well as the Persian Gulf and the Center Asia and the Caucasus area, we can approximately say that these areas are the geopolitical location which is under the control of these three countries, and we can have a united reputation with a high capacity in terms of economy and energy for the three countries. People know that the document of Islamic Republic of Iran's document regarding 20 years ago has always put its attention on this, and on this document, in this document, it has said that the policies of Iran has been based on three things, such as regional policy, Islamic policy, and in fact, the international policies. That's why we would like to prioritize the regional discussion in our neighborhood. This is under the evaluation of our diplomatic things, and we can say that we are doing our things regarding these diplomatic regional things. About the economical problems, as you people know, with the coming of extension, with the emergence of AK Party's policy in Turkey, the policy of Turkish government has also extensively broadened towards the regional and neighboring countries. The AK Party's policy has been based on that we should try to solve our problems, economical problems, with the neighbors and the countries in our vicinity. This way of thinking can be said that it is usually considered as the countries are trying to have an extensive cooperation. Well, since 2002, when the AK Party came to power, we saw the extensive broadening and strengthening of relationship between Iran and Turkey. And this condition has been witnessed since 2003, since the collapse of the Baath regime in Iraq. It has been put into consideration. I'm going to have a brief saying on this. The trade volume between from 2002 between Iran and Turkey from $2 billion, it has been increased to, in 2013, it has reached to $15 billion, as it was agreed between these two countries. That it's been considered that we are going to have a 30 million trade volume between these two countries until 2030. But let me mention the issues of sanction. As we have talked the closed discussion session, we've got three phases. One, before sanction, as we are having a very forward policies in the area when we had our agreement between Iran and 5+1. This emergence or this process has been a very good thing for Iran. We can say that Iran has reached their targets. But when the United States got out of this pact, we had a very slow progress for this impact that we had between Iran and 5+1. As my partners and colleagues talked about this in the morning panel, we have to think about that the sanction is not only for Iran. If Iran is sanctioned, we can say that the other countries will be under immense pressure, and it will put a bad impact on the other countries too. So that's why we have to say that this sanction is a very bad experiment, and it's a very bad addiction for the Europeans, which they have experienced in Turkey as well as in Iran after the Islamic Revolution. and as well as the Iraqi friends also has experienced this sanction. In order to bypass this sanction, we have to put a collaboration between these three countries so that we can avoid these inconsistencies and try to avoid the bad impacts of the sanction. This also has affected the energy as well. As you know, Iran and Iraq has got very good power of energy, as Iran has got the power, a very good power of gas. In the next year, Iran is going to get away its dependency on oil, and it's going to depend on gas, and Iran's economy will not be based only on oil. So that's why we have to see and focus that we are in 21st century that stands on bilateral things. The other importance of the 21st century is that the people will not depend a lot on oil, and they are going to find some alternative energies. So we can say that 21st century is the century of gas, and it's the era of solar system as well as hydropower. So that's why we have to say that we have got a lot of opportunities in order to find this alternative power. We have to say that in Iran's vision towards Iraq is a progression in its security as well as in its economy. We can say that Iran has got a very positive vision between Iran and Iraq towards Iraq, as these two countries see that we are going to build a bridge of friendship between these two countries in order to make progression in Iraq. We can see that the power that Iran has got as well as Iraq in terms of economy, these two can come together and become a very progressive factor in Iraq. About the capabilities of Iran in terms of economy, we can see that the power and capability of Iran that we have to focus on, we are having a very compact trade relationship between these two countries. If you know, we have got a very important thing that when Iran has always been marginalized, the jelly power of this economic cooperation Iran has been brought to Russia, and it can be seen that Iran has been accepted as a guest in the Shanghai session. It is one of the characteristics of Iran's policies towards economy and economy. This is the thing that Iran has always been doing, and we are very good at playing such roles. So this characteristic is very important not only for Iran but as well as for the region. It is very natural that using these capabilities can bring a lot more stability in the region for these three countries. The geopolitical of Iran and the geo-economy of Iran can make Iran very resilient towards the changes that happens in technology, which can be seen in high tech, the empowerment and boosting of Iran's economy towards technology, along with the Turkey's economy's advancement, can be kept as a factor of very important thing. So it can be considered as an important factor so that the three countries can use this. In order to shift our view from economy to environment, I would like to have some considerations and recommendations. We should avoid rivalry. The second thing is that we have to implement practical trade policies that can be based on variant factors. The third thing is the advancement and enhancement of private sector in order to make things reliable on each other. The third one is making an economical commission between the three countries. The fifth thing is in order to make a very common market between these three countries, and we have to make a money swapping between these three countries that we already have signed with Turkey. As well as I recommend in order to make a very free business trade centers and area. But talking about the environmental factors, Iran has a 60 years old experience in environmental expertise, which is of great importance. Approximately 18 million hectare of area in Iran has been under the control of environmental protection. We've got 35 acre of forest, which is under the control of environmental Ministry of Iran, that can be shared with our neighboring countries, Turkey and Iraq. One of the points of environmental factor that is going on between us and Turkey is about the common border that we have of 230 which is 480 kilometers of land, 40 kilometers of sea border. The security committee is already active, and the Turkish plan was this, that we should try to keep these commissions in these borders in order to keep the securities of the two countries intact. Turkey wanted to build a wall and fence in order to provide its security for the country, though Iran was not very much agreed on this point. This fence and wall is going to be on concrete, which is going to put a lot of pressure on the soil, and it can defertilize the soil of that region. That's the other reason that this fence is harmful, is that it's going to destroy the nests of the birds, and it's going to cause the deforestation, which will cause to have deserts which are not of great importance. This is an important factor that everybody has to put into consideration. Now, what to do to avoid this problem? I'm going to say some recommendations. There are some lakes between Iran and Turkey that is going to draw our ecological things here, like Reresu Lake, which is common between these two countries, Parimriye and Seresu River, which goes to Buralan River. It is also common between the two countries. The Aghdaq National Park, which comes from the Ararat Mountain, it comes to the hills of Ararat, and the residential area in Iran and Turkey are very cooperative with each other. The significant point is that keeping the border condition into consideration, the face building things, we have to put this into consideration. Either these fences shouldn't be built, or when these fences are built, should be very light-weighted, so that it shouldn't put any harm to the residential areas of those animals and birds. Broadening the length of transporting this water as well as shouldn't harm to the wildlife animals. As you know, the immigrant birds in the summer in the Turkey region, we've got a lot of birds coming to this country. In the winter, these immigrant birds come to Iran. From the important points between Iran and Turkey, the water problem, which I think an expert person will talk about, is the Aras common river, that Turkey has made a lot of dams in Aras River. This is one of the biggest rivers that can put the ecological things into a lot and great significance and importance. So this river covers a lot of wildlife area, and I think that this river has got a lot of importance for both countries. This dam building can cause that there will be a lot of desert created in the region, which would not be good for any of the countries. There has been some suggestion so that we can have a trilateral agreement for the water problem. Fortunately, as it is known according to the Accord in 1957, that we have got an agreement between Iran and Iraq, is that about the rights on the right. Every country does not have a specific right on making dams, so we don't have any specific accord or agreement in terms of water. It is not only the river of Iraq, but also the rivers which are in Afghanistan, also like Heriman Herirud River. We don't have any specific accord or agreement that Iran or Turkey has got a specific amount of right in order to build dams. We have specifically talked about some specific rivers that both countries are under the protocol of these things which are done in 1957. So the Euphrates River, the things that the Euphrates River is going to do, and as well as the Euphrates, the dams which are made on Euphrates River can be of great importance for the wild and ecological life, as well as the lake which are common between Iran and Iraq, like Horul Huwaizeh, can have a very bad message towards the drought, as Iran has significantly been considering or experiencing the drought during the recent years. We have made some commissions in order to tackle these problems. Not only Iran, but also Iraq and Turkey has also been participants here. The other river that Iran has got less rights as compared to Turkey and Iraq. The Iran's right is 20 billion gallon, so Turkey is going to enhance its right, and it's going to decrease the right of Iran on Euphrates River. We are also having some problems on the other rivers like Shatul Furat, which has been a lot impacted by these accords. But we have to remember that the problems which are happening in Iraq has put a very bad impact on the rivers. We can see that we can help a lot in Iraq in order to make some commissions through the experiences of Iran and Turkey. About the water problem, we have to consider this tackle and problem that we approximately from the complete right of the water, we have got the least amount of water from these three countries. And I think about the right water, there has to be some specific protocols. And about the problem that the Iraqi ambassador talked about the water problem, which is common between Iran and Iraq, I think his consideration and thoughts should be taken to the impact which happened in 1975, as well as when our president went to Iraq, we had some agreements on Ruby as well the Talvik line, because the Talvik line was naturally changed. So the Talvik line has got a direct overlook over the Shatul Arab. So it looks like if the humans' implementation or manipulation is taken or is done, we can see that we are going to have some sort of discussion in order to solve these problems. So since there's a supervision of international affairs on things on the river, so we cannot discuss a lot about this. About the pollution and garbage things, we can in summary say that we don't have a lot of information about Iraq. I think our Iraqi guest can help us a lot in this case. About the gram per person garbage production is like 26 gram per person garbage is produced by Iraqi person. The Turkey garbage per person is 4.47 gram. So this garbage production has significantly reduced through the years. There is a very inconsistent condition in the ecological manipulation in burning the garbage that the two countries are trying in order to tarnish and vanish this garbage. In the past, these two countries used to burn the garbage, but now they are trying to dump it. But fortunately, during these years, the two countries are trying to reduce the effect of this garbage burning or dumping. We also have to take this one into consideration, that the garbage dumping, the water problem, and these things are of great significance and importance. So we have to put them into consideration according to the accord which was done in Paris. Because I don't have a lot of time, I'm gonna summarize it, like what can we do in order to solve these problems, so that this commission and this conference can help us in terms of environmental problems. These ecological things are for our future generation. First of all, we have to culturalize it, and we have to make it as a culture among the people living in these three countries. The second thing is that we should try to bring some green areas in these three countries. The third thing is that we have to make some educational programs for the education system of these three countries. The fourth thing is that we should have some cooperative actions, civic actions, in order to enhance the environmental system. The fifth thing is that we have to enhance the economical system which tries to support the environmental protection. The sixth thing is that we have to enhance the living behavior in terms of environmental ecology, which is taught by Islamic thoughts, which should be implemented in all those three countries, since we are a Muslim country and Islam has taught us a lot about how to keep our environment clean and good. This also has taught us in order to have a very bright and clean vision towards environmental protection. Thank you so much for your consideration and attention.
Teşekkür ediyoruz.
Thanks very much. He touched upon some very important topics. He talked about the origins of our problems, and there were some sensitivities and concerns raised by our Iranian colleagues in various meetings were also touched upon by him. The border wall, Ilısu Dam, Atatürk Dam, those concerns are raised in various platforms, and there are some rumors that those dams are harming the environment. But before Madame Tuba, I would like to leave the floor to Iraqi representative Hamza Hassan Sherif. He is a well-experienced think tank personnel. He has paid close attention to such kind of topics, and our Iraqi guests emphasized this a lot. The environment topic is at the top of Iraqis' agenda. It's an urgent topic for Iraq. Let's listen their concerns, their problems, and their proposals for the solution of those problems. Mr. Hamza Hassan Sherif, the floor is yours, sir.
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon.
And since 2007, when I was an advisor for the National Security Advisor, and we formed at that time a committee, high-level committee, to address this problem, and we came out with recommendations and solutions for these problems and presented to the National Security Council and to the Councils of Ministers in 2008. And my involvement in this issue, it remains one of the areas of my interest, as I worked in the Office of the National Security Advisor. In late 2012, I was the National Coordination for Interministerial Team to form the National Security Strategy. And it was formed and adopted by the National Security Council in 2015 and by the Councils of Ministers in March 2016. One of the high risks that recognized and identified by the National Security Strategy is the water problem. And I will quote from the National Security Strategy. It recognized that water scarcity, deteriorating the quality and increasing the soil salinity, and the increase in the demand because of the increase in the population, this is the reason why it is a high risk. And of course, dyeing the marshes was one of the main causes of poverty in the southern of Iraq, the displacement of many of its inhabitants, posing an additional threat to food security, civil peace, and social structure. Add to them the wasting of this, the National Security Strategy also recognized the water as a national wealth because of the old irrigation systems, long neglections for decades because of the wars and the other bad policies, and decades of poor awareness and poor legislation and targeting the water, and of course targeting the water resources infrastructure by terrorism and outlaws during after 2005. In late 2012, also the Iraqi government, Minister of Water Resources, contracted a joint venture of 3 companies, 2 Italian, 1 Iraqi, to do a strategy for water, a strategic study for water and land resources in Iraq. The acronym is SWILLERY, which is 2015 and 2035. The SWILLERY, I'm going to address some of the fact findings in this strategy, in this study. By 2020, Iraq will face a high risk if it does not have sufficient quantity of fresh water of good quality to meet the developmental requirements. This situation can be avoided only by a major overhaul of water use and distribution, and can be fully solved only by reaching agreement with riparian countries on water cooperation. On water. The SWILLERY also provides the essential tools for the requirements, the reform requirements, data analysis tools for adaptation, planning, and investment. The SWILLERY, according to this SWILLERY, to this study, that Iraq have to spend an average of $80 billion for all the oil, for all the water sector. I mean, water, agriculture, municipality, industry, and other, even the oil also. But since 2015, when it was released, they allocate to implement this strategy is very low. And in fact, in 2016, this is 0 because of the war against Daesh. As I said, when I was involved in this issue since 2007, and I was a member of the High Water Committee chaired by the Prime Minister, as well as there is another subcommittee for water negotiation at the Minister of our Minister of Foreign Ministry or Foreign Affairs. And at that time, before I retired, I was retired in 2017, I suggested a draft for a strategy for water cooperation with riparian countries. And when I retired, I continued to follow up with this, suggestion. Then Dr. Hassan al-Janabi, when he was the Minister of Water Resources, adopted this, and we cooperate. I was now working with the UNDP in Iraq, and accordingly, the government, the government of Iraq, formed a team of specialists from the Ministry for Foreign Affairs, Water Resources, the Prime Minister Advisory Commission, and from the Office of National Security Advisor to review the draft and make the proper changes on it. And the team finalized the draft and agreed upon it and presented to the High Water Committee chaired by the Prime Minister. The High Water Committee adopted the strategy on May 2019. The team addresses the following facts. It is certain that the quantity and the quality of water coming to Iraq in the coming years is in constant decline and in high rates due to the completion of the construction of dams and irrigation projects in the upstream, increased demand on water due to the increasing in population, which is disrupt sustainable national development, and threats on entire environment of Iraq, and low land productivity, more desertification and dust storms. The conclusion that puts Iraq life and human security at serious risk. Regarding the fact-finding on the transboundary water, always there is a failure to address the water problem will lead to conflict under the circumstances and conditions of our already troubled region. On the contrary, addressing them will be an important element in the development of relations in various fields between these countries, which will reflect positively on the development, security, and stability of our region and the world. Taking into consideration that addressing this risk, will be very difficult due to the prevailing political circumstances and required high effort and funding with a new approach to how to deal with it, and understand the views and positions of upstream countries to build confidence and trust among all parties in order to build common ground and understanding to reach fair, reasonable agreement with countries in accordance with the principles of cooperation in the management of international waters and do not harm and no harm and in good neighborhood. The strategy also, the team reached to a revision of the strategy. The vision, the Iraqi vision now, achieving sustainable water resources management. And Also, the team recognizes a vital interest in water that include sustainable water flow in the Tigris and Euphrates basins and their tributaries in quantity and quality, ensuring the sources of drinking water and household consumption, sustainable rural and urban development to support food security, improve the water quality of Shatt al-Arab and the marshlands, and protect their ecological systems. Combating desertification and mitigating the effect of climate change and dust storms. And there is also objectives in this strategy. The objectives: developing cooperation activities at the river basin level to achieve proper water resources management to ensure sustainable flow of water in the Tigris, Euphrates, and Shatt al-Arab rivers, quantitatively and qualitatively, equitably and fairly among the riparian countries. Seek to achieve Iraq's national priorities without jeopardizing regional stability, but to strengthen it. Strive to preserve and develop the marshes, taking into account the hydrological conditions of the Tigris and Euphrates River, improving water efficiency at the national level, taking into account the socio-cultural history of Iraq. The achievement of these objectives by a constructive cooperation on transboundary water resources, which ensures equitable and fair participation of water in river basins. Also, the Iraqi team, agreed on the principles of cooperation. There will be a will to cooperate. The credibility and trust on confidence building, starting with the exchange of reliable, credible information, serving the mutual interest, and which is the basket of interest. The win-win approach. Also, the strategy has attached, the team formed an implementation plan for the strategy. One of the basic elements of the implementation, we need a political will from all the parties and the belief in cooperation. Countries cooperate when benefits, which is a fact, a simple fact, when the benefits of cooperation are greater than non-cooperation, and in the sense of higher and sustainable interest. Identifying the type of cooperation which is required, options and alternatives to be available to achieve, fair, equitable use, and prevent tangible damage on the water and the quality of water quality. Identifying the basket of interests that attract the upstream. Awareness and national reform on water sector. Capacity building on cooperation, and of course need a budget allocation. The Iraqi teams believes that it was agreed that the strategy would be to make it a public documents. So it means it will be a white paper, a comprehensive consultative process that involved key stakeholders in order to enhance public awareness. It is assumed that such a white paper would send a positive message to upstream countries regarding Iraq, a new and constructive approach to solve the water disputes. and hopefully that the upstream will listen to this. The group firmly believes that raising the awareness among the various governmental agencies, as well as among the public, will increase the political will for concerted actions like the much needed investment. So that's what I conclude with my speech, and I'm available. I'm ready to answer any questions. Thank you.
Teşekkür ediyoruz Sayın Hamza Şerif'e. Gerçekten bu su strateji belgesinin hazırlanması oldukça önemli, temel bir adım. Anladığım kadarıyla yaklaşık 10 yıl sürmüş ve çok kapsamlı bir ekip tarafından hazırlanmış. Belki bölge ülkelerin bu tür çalışmaları birbiriyle paylaşmaları, ortak bir belge oluşturmaları ileride su yönetiminin yeni krizlere yol açmaması için de önemli olabilir. Siyasi irade vurgusu yine yapıldı. Kazan kazan vurgusu yine yapıldı. Benim görebildiğim kadarıyla zaten 3 ülkede de aslında bu var. Bir takım siyasi sorunlar zaman içinde aşıldıkça su yönetiminde de ben ortak bir noktaya gelineceğine inanıyorum. Son konuşmacı olarak Tuğba Evrim Maden Hanım'a sözü vermek istiyorum. Gerek İranlıların gerek de Iraklı misafirlerin vurguda bulundukları konuları da dikkate alarak Türkiye'nin pozisyonunu anlatan bir konuşma dinleyeceğiz çok muhtemelen. Çünkü biz çocukluğumuzdan beri duyarız hani Türkiye işte su açısından zengin bir ülke ama son dönemde herhalde bunun çok doğru olmadığı, aslında Türkiye'nin su kaynaklarının da oldukça kısıtlı olduğu yavaş yavaş ortaya çıkıyor. Bu şartlar altında bunu en iyi, en verimli şekilde nasıl kullanabiliriz? Su ve enerji konusunu, çevre konusunu nasıl bir işbirliği alanına dönüştürebiliriz diye kendisinin değerli görüşlerini dinleyeceğiz. Buyurun Tuğba Hanım, söz sizde.
Öncelikle teşekkür ederim. Konuşmama şöyle başlamak istiyorum. Genellikle şöyle bir imaj var. Sizin de bahsettiğiniz gibi Türkiye su zengini. Diğer ülkelerle kıyasladığımız zaman kıyıdaşlarımız Suriye, Türkiye ve dolaylı bir şekilde Şatül Arap nedeniyle İran. Türkiye su zengini bir ülke değil. Türkiye'de de belli bir su potansiyeli var. Türkiye'nin de artan bir nüfusu var. Türkiye'nin de gıda güvenliği endişesi var ve Türkiye'de dış enerji konusunda aslında çok daha şanssız bir ülke. İran ve Irak ve Suriye'ye baktığımızda bizim petrolümüz yok. Biz petrol ve doğalgazımızı diğer ülkelerden almaktayız. O yüzden elimizde enerji kaynağı olarak hidroelektrik potansiyelimiz varken bunu da değerlendirmek zorundayız. Bizim de ayrıca bir enerji güvenliğimizi garantileme zorunluluğumuz söz konusu. Bahsettiğim gibi Türkiye su zengini bir ülke değil. Yaklaşık Irak'la kişi başına düşen su kapasitesi olarak bakarsak yakınız. Suriye ile de yakındık ama Suriye maalesef savaş nedeniyle altyapıda çok fazla zarar gördüğü için şu anda su sıkıntısı çeken bir ülke konumunda. İran'ın da maalesef hem mevcut iklim koşulları hem havza arası su transferinin daha sonraki olumsuz etkileri nedeniyle şu anda kişi başına düşen su miktarı ile ilgili sorunlar yaşamakta. Tabii ki bakarsak yağış oranı olarak da bakarsak İran kuzeyini katmazsak sistemi İran gerçekten yağış oranı konusunda dünya ortalamasında düşük bir orana sahip. Türkiye sınır aşan sularında şöyle diyeyim su potansiyelinin yaklaşık %40'ı sınır aşan sulardan oluşmakta. Hidroelektrik potansiyelinin de yaklaşık %20'sini Fırat ve Dicle nehirlerinden elde etmekte. Ve maalesef bu yıl Ilısu Barajı'nı da bitirseydik ondan da elde edecektik. Bu yıl teknik tabiriyle ıslak bir dönem olduğu için biz hidroelektriğimizin büyük bir çoğunluğunu hidroelektrikten
would derived most of our energy from hydroelectric energy from the dams. So you could ask, why are you using hydroelectric energy? Let me give you an example. Take a hydroelectric dam. In case of need, you can open and close the system in 5 minutes. This is a huge security issue, but think of a natural gas terminal. Think of a coal plant. Think of oil plant or nuclear energy. This turning off and shutting down is a serious period, which might even be one full day. So we have 5 provincial river basins that are transboundary. We also talk about Euphrates and Tigris rivers, Aras, and there's Asi basin, one impacting Iran, the other impacting Syria. Actually, Turkey hasn't been party to any of the international treaties concerning water because Turkey is an independent country. It doesn't have to be a party to any international treaty if it is contradicting its own national benefits. But concerning transboundary waters, Turkey has reflected all of its concerns onto its policies and has been implementing these policies since 1980. So the Euphrates and Tigris rivers use date back to 1950s with Iraq and Syria. So we have started to develop our policies. Back then we didn't have communication among countries, but after we started to construct the dams, especially after Tapka Dam and after Keban Dam, Iraq actually experienced water problems. It reflected it on Syria, and we started to talk about waters. Back in 1970s and 80s, even if unofficial, but beginning with 1980s, through a common technical committee, Turkey, Iraq, and Syria came together and started to negotiate on waters. But there were wars, conflicts, unfortunately. This is the kind of region that we live in. So politically, there are negative processes, and institutionalization as well as common joint technical committees are disrupted due to these wars and crises. But still, it continued. Concerning transboundary water policies, Turkey has had an optimal approach, no harm policy, 2 rivers, 1 basin. I'm talking about Tigris and Euphrates, because in the international law, it is 2 rivers that join in one, then it is 1 basin. And Euphrates and Tigris are such rivers that join. And there is no permission for third parties. Third parties are not let in. So if Turkey has problems concerning transboundary rivers, then it will be consulting only the riparian states, no other third parties. And Turkey has never used its waters as a weapon, even in war situations, war periods, especially recently. I am, by the way, in the Ulusu committee, technical committee. I know it very well. At the end of 2017, we told Iraq we're going to fill in Ulusu in 6 months, in March 2018. And in March, Iraq was going through a very arid season, unfortunately, and they said we are having problems with potable water. It used to be Mr. Hassan Cennabi, the minister back then, and he asked us if we could delay the filling of Ulusu Dam. And back then it used to be the Ramadan fest in June, so we said we will delay it until June 2018. So we thought, okay, we're going to fill in the dam in the middle of June, but then it was an arid season. In line with the demand of Iraq, we kept on delaying filling Ulusu Dam. We were going to produce 1,200 megawatts, which means millions of losses per day. Iraqi friends were more important for us in that sense, so we took that risk. Even if we are not party to an international treaty, it actually shows how Turkey has been loyal to all the international treaty concepts. So with our transboundary river policy, you know that we have signed memorandum of understanding with Iraq and Syria. Unfortunately, with Iraq, we haven't been able to implement it. The one that we tried to implement with Iraq wasn't ratified by the Assembly. This protocol was renewed. So, actually, if this protocol goes well, it actually will start to work well. So we call track 1 diplomacy. Turkey is not only using track 1 diplomacy. I have been dealing with this issue since 2001. And in international projects, one of whose cooperation I am dealing with, we are getting together with Iranian, Iraqi, and Syrian experts. But of course, we have certain prejudices, unfortunately. But thanks to these projects, and thanks to track 2 diplomacy, we have actually got rid of prejudices. Maybe we haven't discovered something new. Maybe we haven't invented something new. But we have broken our prejudices now. And we, as individuals, are gathering in meetings. For instance, I am involved in the special representation with Iraq. And I have been gathering with Iraqi experts, my friends. And I think these are very important, small steps, but they cannot be ignored. Concerning water, in January 2018, when the Iraqi president visited Turkey, it used to be the former Minister of Water, Mr. Veysel Eroğlu. He was going to be the special representative for water. And in 2 weeks, we formed a group of 50 persons in January. They're trying to deal with all aspects of water. And under this group, there's also 150 technical personnel working. So we have actually shared the list of our group with Mr. Ambassador from Iraq, and also in our visit to Iraq in July. And we also are waiting for our Iraqi counterparts to set up such a group. But of course, we cannot expect everything to be prepared at once from our neighboring countries. So we have given an action plan. We have shared data. So we've been talking about data sharing for the last 2 days. We need a joint and calibrated data. Let me say, when we say technical data, sometimes we have to translate them because we use different information systems. Without factual data, I cannot form a management plan, or I cannot form an idealized agreement. If you do not have data, you cannot manage the process. We have to take seriously technical data. Unless you complete technical data, you cannot form an action plan whatsoever. So with Iraq, we aim to share technical data, calibrated data, and its calibration. So between Turkey and Iraq, we also suggested the formation of a water center. Hopefully it will be established. It looks utopian at the moment, but if it is established, then it's going to work really well. Secondly, we're talking about dams and lakes. In the construction and the filling processes, we informed Iraq, especially concerning Ilısu Dam, day by day. And in March and April, Iraq told us, please close the dam, don't proceed. So these are not reflected on the press, but this was a technical issue. Due to pressure, due to a 16-meter gap, we could not shut it all at once. But once it was 16 meters, then we could shut it. I'm talking about huge cranes, tons of weight. So once it's shut down, it is very hard to open once again. So this is a kind of technical issue. So beginning 15th of April, we started to fill in Ilısu Dam. Of course, there are tests undertaken. Mostly people compare it with Ethiopia Dam. Actually, Ilısu Dam will be filling in around 1.5 years. So we are filling in the dam, and at the same time, we are releasing water for Iraq. This is a technical issue. I can delve into details if you like. Secondly, concerning Aras Dam, Aras River. At the moment, we do not have a dam on Aras River, correction. So the water problem in Aras River is not something we can tackle technically because we do not have a dam that has been constructed. There are dams that are pending whose construction is pending. But at the moment, they are not completed, and those who are pending are for electricity generation. So there is a dam. During USSR times, we are managing together with Armenia. We have 50% share. But concerning Arpachai, Armenia has problems. It is leading to water quality problems. Armenia is leading to this water quality problems, which was reflected on the press recently. So we are open to all kinds of cooperation with Iran. And there was this one thing that was mentioned a moment ago. Iran is among the first 5 countries that construct the most number of dams. Euphrates and Tigris are not directly connected to Iran. Küçük Zap branch is coming from Iran. There is around 41 rivers, north and south, that is flowing to Iraq. And of course, there are dams on these 40-some rivers, on the branches of Euphrates and Tigris. Yes, there are many dams, especially on Almat River. Sometimes there is water shortages, and it is located on the Iraqi point.
Yes, there are obstacles. Lack of political stability is a problem. Institutionalization is another problem. It's not that we are failing in institutionalization. We are not unable to establish commissions. It's just they're not sustainable because of the political turmoils. They talked about the water quality in Iraq. Unfortunately, the infrastructure is harmed to a severe extent. Within the scope of our action plan, we foresee the reconstruction of the Iraqi water infrastructure. I'm not talking about training here. Sharing of experiences is my word, because sharing experience is very important. We have to share our negative and positive experiences rather than testing and trying the failing practices. We cannot achieve anything. Irrigation techniques are another problem. Unfortunately, the modern irrigation techniques cannot be used. If you use the wrong irrigation techniques, it introduces salinity, which harms the fertility. This has been the century-long problem of the Mesopotamia. The irrigation, evaporation, and desertification, deforestation. Wastewater is a huge problem in the Persian Gulf. Treatment of the wastewater and reuse. Non-traditional water resources could become our alternative water resources. If we keep aside alternative water resources, it's very important to be able to use the traditional water resources, and they could sustain us for a certain amount of time. Forestation was another activity. Capacity building. As I have mentioned, we have to take advantage of each other's experiences. As mentioned by our Iranian and Iraqi representative, collaboration is very important. I believe that all the three countries have their goodwill, good intentions, and if we can start to work by now, I believe that this problem can be solved before it becomes chronic. Thanks very much. Thanks very much, Madame Tuba. It expanded my horizons, because most of the time we discuss about the political aspect of the issue together with our Iranian and Iraqi friends. It's very important to obtain the technical and factual data. I believe our guests from Iraq and Iran took advantage of, benefited this presentation. Probably we have to proceed with questions and answers. I believe that our audience is going to have some questions. To our guest, the floor is yours, sir.
Are you sure you want me to ask questions? It's going to be embarrassing. I've listened to the lectures, and from the Iraqi side, I didn't hear anything new. It's a continuation of the traditional. Sorry, I'm going to be tough. Just continuation of the traditional position. From the Turkish side, I heard, okay, we have goodwill, but I didn't hear anything new. I heard, okay, we need to have calibrated data so that we can talk about the same numbers. There is the new ambassador that's being assigned and the will of President Erdogan. I don't want to hear about the water file anymore. Let's close it. Great, wonderful. Upon which ideas are you going to build this new agreement? If you continue both on the traditional position, he's saying, I'm giving you enough water for you, you're wasting water. Iraq says, this is my historic right, you're not giving me enough water, I'm going to go to international tribunal, whatever. What's new that is going to generate a goodwill agreement? I heard nothing new. That's for you too, for the Iraq and Turkey. For Iran, I'm sorry again, I'm going to be tough. You insist on the 75 treaty, wonderful. The Thawal lag line, wonderful. The 75 treaty, sir, also includes provisions on water quality and quantity going from Iran into Iraq, which Iran has not complied with. So you want Iraq to comply with the 75 treaty, wonderful. Are you willing to comply with all conditions of the treaty? If we continue the traditional positions, I submit to you that in 20 years, we're going to be fighting about water. Iraq right now is 36 million. We will be 50 million by 2030. We will be 80 million by 2050. And water is going to be literally more expensive than our oil. So I'd like to hear ideas, new ideas upon which an agreement can be built, a cooperation between these three countries can be built. What new ideas do you have to present to the table, to present here? Or are we going to continue on our traditional position and delay agreement for the next 10, 15 years?
Teşekkür ediyorum.
Thanks very much. There is a question from behind.
ایران در این نشست شرکت کردم. خیلی خوش.
Hello, this is Hydari that I've participated from Iran. I'm very happy. Iran has tried to bring some and build some dams that is going to jeopardize their national security. Can this be a help in order to build a bridge of trust between the countries? Or we say that before inaugurating the dams, we announce it to the other country. Is this enough that we can build a bridge of trust between the countries? And what about the Aras Dam? It is said about the Aras River. It is said that we don't have any electrical dam, but we have got 14 dams from Turkey, which is built on Aras River, or it is in the process of building. That one of the biggest is Bozkurt Dam. That it is one of the electrical dam that is going to be inaugurated in the coming year. My specific question is that, specifically Turkey, will Turkey follow its policies of making dams and announcing it to the other country towards the final hour, and telling to other country that we have built a dam on rivers? Or is Turkey going to find a solution for this problem?
Thank you very much for the three panelists. My question is based on the fact that the Middle East is a moving sand, is a place where political regimes are unpredictable, mostly unstable. So is it possible that we think of agreements or pacts that are not related to political regimes or the will of political regimes, agreements that are sustainable, that can stay longer, without the intervention of the mood or the political mood of political regimes, whether or not, they will be impacted by international powers, by regional powers, or by their visions. Agreements that can be drafted by qualified people, by experts, and that benefit the people of these countries, not necessarily the political regimes. Thank you very much.
Teşekkür ederim. Arka tarafta bir arkadaşımız var. Soruyu kime sorduğunuzu da belirtirseniz.
Please direct your question. Please address your question to specific panelists. My name is Ceyhan from Ankara Yıldırım Beyazıt University. I'm a student in the Department of Economics. I would like to thank all the panelists for their speeches. My question is to the Iraqi and Iranian representative. First, let me ask my question to the Iranian representative. He said that the border wall that is going to be built by Turkey is going to harm the birds, animals, and plants. Although it really hurts me to say that Tehran is the 12th country in terms of the air pollution. And last year, approximately 5,000 people lost their lives because of causes related with the air pollution. I wonder if Iran is going to give up its oil production in order to diminish the air pollution, because it's the main cause of the air pollution. Now, this is my question to the Iraqi representative. He talked about the water scarcity throughout the day, but they are still using the savage irrigation or wild irrigation systems that are ineffective. What kind of measures are you taking to render the agricultural irrigation in your country more effective? Yes, thanks very much. Do you have any other questions? No other questions? No. Let's start with Mr. Hamza. Mr. Sharif, the floor is yours.
I will speak in Arabic, if you don't mind.
Dr. Azam, maybe I have a different video. And this is, you know this, the people who are concerned with this, the water issue, all their matters is to reach common understanding. I have reached to an understanding and a treaty with Iran, and in 75's treatment, we have reached an agreement with Turkey. But if the agreement itself is not a solution, but the new thing is the current Iraqi situation is looking for is taking a cooperative stance. Is it a goal or is it a tool? It's definitely a tool to reach a mutual benefit. That's why they are starting to talk about mutual benefits, water issues. Water issues and the water problem shouldn't be independent of the economical, social, cultural troubles and issues. The most important thing in this topic, then what? As long as there is no will, there is no political will to cooperate, for sure, from all sides, not just from the Iraqi side. And this is, it doesn't matter or doesn't mean anything if you're just want to be helping, but they have to not just be cooperating, they become partners. The Dr. Nasi, as Dr. Nasi said, all these suggestions, all these discussions are there. But it's not just for management, it's for, as the easier part of it is the technical side. The other sides of it, of the water issue, which is a political issue only. It's everywhere, it's a political issue. The politics always in charge of the water issue. This is the new thing in this topic. But till now, there is a new minister. And so he resigned, or he might get us back. He might just get us to the starting point. We do what we do. We do what we can, what we have in our hands, and so I see what I can do and I do it, and this is our problem. I tell you the truth. One of the main officials, what was the reason that he was complaining about water, and now we are having a flood. On mythology, pseudoscience. Based on pseudoscience, he made his predictions. For the question that is been proposed earlier, yes, our irrigation methods and our national security strategies and our strategical studies, our irrigation methods are redundant and are coming from the Middle Ages. Now we have dams. And it's better now, but we admit it, and we are not blaming the source countries, but our water situation. They have contributed in and our regime was very much into wars and into internal troubles. And we even provided cement for the Turkish regime to build their own dams. This is a problem that is touching and very connected to every Iraqi citizen. Everybody has to know what is the position of the other part and the other direction. And through mutual understanding, we can find solutions. As if the increase of the irrigation efficiency, for example, we can use the Turkish expertise in it. What is the other option? Fight? Conflict? We don't have. The cooperation is the only option we have right now. Thank you.
5 dakika lütfen. 5 dakikada.
Mr. Azam, you said that we have been using the traditional discourse. At the very beginning of my speech, I said that we will stick to this traditional line. Unfortunately, we are going to get stuck in that same thing. As an engineer, as an international relations person, without the correct data from all the countries, it will be unhealthy if we make an agreement. Maybe we're not going to make an agreement on the quantity, but for me to be able to make a water management plan, for us to be able to focus on the management from the irrigation fields to the water flow, I need to have all the data. Otherwise, it's going to be an unhealthy agreement. And you cannot give up an agreement once it is signed. Regarding the Araxas River, I was prepared about Aras or Araxas River. I have the internal letter between the institutions, and Turkey is not manipulating its own institutions. On Araxas River, there is Karakurt Dam. It's under construction. Next year, it is going to be initiated. Tuzluca Dam, the construction hasn't even started. There is a project, and there is the Ünlendi Dam. Not even a single nail has been hammered. It's on the project stage. This is an institutional document. If you're talking about ponds or reservoirs, they have a depth of 15 meters. They are different. Here, we're talking about rivers, and such kind of ponds and reservoirs do not have the capacity to have an impact on the river's flow. You cannot announce the dams at the last minutes. Since 1970, we have been declaring to all the world and all the region that we are going to build a dam. You cannot surprise build a dam. It's not possible for you not to provide information to any country. It depends totally on the relationship between bilateral or trilateral relationship between the countries. All the countries are having bilateral relations, even with Armenia, for example, despite the fact that we have experiencing lots of political troubles. For the Arpachai stream, we have been having continuous regular negotiations. You cannot say that we didn't provide any information and informed you at the last moment. Thanks very much.
Just 5 minutes.
Well, there were two questions, and I'm going to add one point. Mr. Azam asked a question, as far as I understood. In his question, there was a contradiction. First of all, he talked about 1975 as a source of inconsistency, and as well as said that he has got some problems about the terms and stipulations in the accord. This is not correct. First of all, we should have some foundation so that we can build our strategies based on that. I think the accord in 1975 for the last time, in the beginning of this year in Baghdad, between the two countries, Iran and Iraq, it was accepted, and it helped that the border water problem based on this should be solved. That one of them is the Lairobi and Arvan stream that was accepted. So that's why we should accept 1975 accord as the foundation, so that we can go on and accept the other accords and agreements. The question that was asked according to the border fence, I think about it quite enough that this fence border can destroy a lot of ecosystem of the birds, and it can create desert, and it can create air pollution, as well as it can increase the dust in the environment, and as well as it destroys the wildlife ecology. I don't want to explain these things again. He also talked about the air pollution in Iran. Are you ready to stop the oil production in order to remove the air pollution in Tehran? I would like to say that the air pollution in Tehran is not the Iran's pollution. It is connected to the global warming changes as well as the environmental changes in the region. So it's not only connected to Iran. Iran has got a geopolitical situation that has got a slope towards the west, so that's why it has got a patch of cloud that is because of the pollution which is created by the emission of smoke, and this is the reason that we have got a lot of air pollution in Iran, in Tehran. About the question that are you ready to quit the oil production in order to have a good air condition in Iran? I think that Iran helped a lot to Turkey in order to remove air pollution in Ankara. As you know that the air pollution in Ankara because of the coal burning was that much that people couldn't breathe because of the air pollution. So now, because of the cooperation in terms of gas and petrol between Iran and Turkey has helped a lot towards the clean air of Ankara. The clean air that we have got in Ankara is the result of cooperation between Iran and Iran and Turkey. It's not important that you should be angry on this. Mustafa had a very hot and burning topic that contributed in your anger. I would like to talk about 3-4 points. First of all, I think the thing which was important in the session was about the common concerns. The common concerns shouldn't be counted as threat. It should be counted as opportunity. Why? Because it can result to working together. Anyhow, we've got two conditions that are of great concern. First of all, the ecological concerns. The second concern is about the regional and international cooperation. The ecological concern, which is very concerning to us, it is because of the lackage of water creates a lot of salty places and it defertilizes the areas for the agricultural things. the plug of this will definitely come to us all. It's not only concerned to one or two countries. As I told you, that the lack of water can create desert, and it created a lot of dust in the air. About the international zone, that is a common concern for us that we should think about, and we all have gathered here in order to have a plan, in order to think positively, and we shouldn't say that energy cannot be equal to water. Because you've got water, because you've got water and you've got energy, we are going to think this was equally. This is not conceptually and rationally accepted. We have come together in order to make some rational changes and make some rational implementations. First of all, we have to think about the global warming. The change in the climate is of great concern. Mr. Azam talked about the increase of the population. Of course, it has got some ecological concerns. Let's talk about all these points in this room and talk about them all in this arena and find solutions. Why? Because we have got the determination and we have got the capacity in order to solve these problems. Thank you so much.
We will be talking about such kind of issues like energy and water for a long time. Thanks very much, all the speakers. At 4 o'clock, we are going to have the final panel. We would like to see you there. Thanks very much.